അക്കാപ്പിന്റെ ഓൺലൈൻ സെഷൻസിലേക്ക് എല്ലാവർക്കും സ്വാഗതം. ഇന്ന് BA ഇംഗ്ലീഷിന്റെ അപ്രീഷിയേറ്റിംഗ് പോയട്രി എന്ന മൊഡ്യൂളിൽ മദർ ടു സൺ ബൈ ലാങ്സ്റ്റൺ ഹ്യൂസ് എന്ന പോർഷനാണ് സെഷൻ എടുക്കുന്നതിനായി ഗുരുവായൂർ ലിറ്റിൽ ഫ്ലവർ കോളേജിലെ ഇംഗ്ലീഷ് ഡിപ്പാർട്ട്മെന്റ് അസിസ്റ്റന്റ് പ്രൊഫസറായ മിസ് ആഞ്ചല നമ്മളോടൊപ്പം ഉണ്ട്. മിസ് ആഞ്ചല, സ്വാഗതം. മാഡം, ക്ലാസ് സ്റ്റാർട്ട് ചെയ്യാം.
So please enjoy and welcome to this session. We are going to deal with Mother to Son by Langston Hughes. So, but before starting, I would like to say that all of you, my children, you will have to have two things that is two or three things that is very important. First thing, the text of the poem, you need to have it with you. Otherwise, it would be difficult for me to explain. Second, a pencil or a pen. You don't need to have an extra paper because I believe that when you write in the margins and between lines, you can remember these things well. It won't go away. A piece of paper, you may lose it, but then when you have it in your textbook, you can mark it in your textbook, and so it will remain there. And so, welcome to this very unique class. We are doing it online. I too love it. So to remember what happened and when it happened, put the date, today's date, it is 15/5/2020. Put my name there because I am the tutor for you today. My name is Teresa J. Helois or Sister Angela, and I teach at the Little Flower College, Guruvayur. Now we'll come to our, I have prepared a small PPT, but dear young scholars, be very careful. I don't have anything on my PPT. If you get my PPT, it is blank. You'll have a few pictures there. It is only for me to remember certain things that I have to tell you. That's all. So if you pay attention, it will be very beneficial to you. All right, here we go. Mother to Son by Langston Hughes. Yeah, this is a route map of what we will be going to do in today's session. The first one was things we need and self-introduction. I told you, write my name. That was my self-introduction. It will be over. And then next you will get an analysis. I have put the text of the poem in this PPT, and I believe that you have it in your hands right now. So you will be getting an analysis. You will have to hear. I have not typed any analysis. You will have to hear my lecture, and please write down as fast as you can. All right. And in case in between you need any clarification in the vernacular or you need something in Malayalam, you can ask. They will inform me and I will try to do it. Then next you will be getting an information about poetic devices used in this poem. Then we'll speak something about the poet, his times and profile of the poem. Then we will go and discuss about the layers of meanings embedded in this poem, and then themes, and then some healthy distractions. We actually need distractions. And then there will be a time for question and answers, and then vote of thanks. This is what I have planned for this session. Okay. I think that you all might have not read the poem previously, though we know that we are going to attend it. Anyway, I'll read it for you. You all please listen to it. Mother to Son by Langston Hughes. Well, son, I'll tell you, life for me ain't been no crystal stair. It had tacks in it, and splinters, and boards torn up, and places with no carpet on the floor, bare. But all the time, a climbing on, and reaching landings, and turning corners, and sometimes going in the dark where there ain't been no light. So boy, don't you turn back. Don't you sit down on the steps, 'cause you finds it's kinda hard. Don't you fall now, for I'm still going, honey. I still climbing, and life for me ain't been no crystal stair. Okay, this is the text of the poem, and this is the way that poem was meant to be recited. All right, but then you would find some particular words, okay, like, climbing ice. You wouldn't have seen words like that. You would find it difficult to understand such words. So I suggest, you actually, I've done it for you. See, in your textbook, it is not any kind of mistake. You should know that. it is a particular dialect Hughes is using here. So you just need to round it off, and just as I have done, you see, ain't. Instead of ain't, just put a pencil mark there, has not. So you see, you can understand the meaning very correctly. The result, I'll tell you, life has not been no Christmas there. And it's hard, it's had tags in it. So it has. Just round it up and put it has. Similarly, in the ninth line, I have. There, is I have, and then this is climbing, and then this is reaching, and this is landing, this is turning, and this going is going. Ain't been. You put it as was, where there was no light. See, it's an understandable at that time. Uh, don't use sit. It's not set. I mean, the print is correct. There is no mistake there. I told you it is a kind of dialect. That is why it is given a set there. It is correct, but for your understanding, just sit there, and because we usually use it that way. It's because, see, it's for I still going. I am still going, honey. I am still going, and I still climbing. And life ain't. This is again has not been. Okay. This is a way you can understand. Let me ask you, what is going on in this? What is the atmosphere of this poem here? What's happening? Okay, as the title says, it is mother to son, and probably it would be, I'm taking my text in my hand. So it must be about a mother giving a pep talk kind of a thing to her son, because here we see that the mother might have had a lot of expectations about her son, but the son is actually, at this point of time, is actually a little low. He's thinking of quitting probably, and that's why the mother says, or the mother is giving all this advice. It can be the son has gone to the mother to ask for this advice. So this is the situation here. So now if you go, I have for convenience, as I recited it, you might have seen I have for convenience divided into three parts. Actually, it has no parts like that. It is not divided into stanzas. But I just for convenience divided this 29 lines into 1 to 7 lines, then 8 to 13 lines, and then 14 to 20 lines. In the beginning, what will happen? Hughes is actually using a metaphor here. And the metaphor can be found in the second line itself. He says, life for me ain't been no crystal stair. So the mother is conveying this point to her son that her life is not a crystal stair. So on the whole, life, challenges in life, and the crystal stair, all these two things are connected here. And throughout this poem, you would see an extended metaphor. That is, all aspects in a staircase is connected with all the life instances that is happening in the mother's life. Okay, so that is the way she has put it over here. Now, what would come to your mind? See, this is a crystal stair picture that I got when I searched to make this PPT. It is, believe me, this is Swarovski crystal here. So smooth and glittery, and it is lighted path and all these things. But the mother says that life for me and be no crystal stair. So life has not been like this. Life has not been to me like this, like a crystal stair. Life for me has been like this. For the contrast, this is life. The mother says that this is life. And she says that it had tags in it. You see, if you concentrate, if you clearly look into this staircase, you would find tags in it. And there are splinters in it. And some places it is broken. Okay, this is a situation. Okay, you would not know. Tags. Tags means the small nails which you find on a staircase. You see, it is a wooden stair. And to connect the wooden stair, would have put nails on it. But because of usage, the nails, yeah, see, this corner, I just put it here. These nails would have come out. And because of usage, again, the splinters would have come out. And what would happen because of the splinters? This common hazard you all would have experienced in life. Sometimes unconsciously, when we move about, if splinters are there like this, it will, hurt you like this. It will harm you like this. So this is the condition here. Splinters are there on the stairs. But what is the extended metaphor trying to tell you? Hmm? She begins it like this. Well, son, I'll tell you. So, well, son, when someone begins a lecture like that, you should know that she has something heavy to tell you. You have approached that person. The boy has approached the mother to know what is happening there, and the mother is saying, "Okay, well, this is the condition." And the next things that she has to tell is not something very light. It is something very heavy. And she says that it is not a crystal stair. You remember this previous staircase. It is a crystal stair. Now, what would a crystal stair indicate? Where have you seen, for example, such a stair? Palaces, for instance, and movies in which wherein they put this crystal stair and the starlets go up and down these stairs. What does that suggest? It suggests clear, smooth, lit path. And imagine you having this stair in your home. Then I would believe that you are a multimillionaire. You would have everything that you want in your life. That kind of life. Only people who have that kind of life can own this. So it is very much connected. So if the life is like this, then you will have anything. But no, the life is not like this. A crystal stair would mean easy passage, smooth passage, convenience, luxury, and a materialistic goal that is already there and you are sure to attain. That is the symbol of this crystal stair. But life is not like that. Life is like this. So what has she had? What does she have to face? It has tags in it. It pricks you. If you place your leg on that, oh, you will get hurt. Blood comes out. It has splinters by its edges. Somehow, if your clothes or if your body parts, anything touch that, the splinter will get into your hand or get into your leg, and you will have to dissect it out. Only then you can be saved. And she also says that, you see, and boards torn up. In this staircase, I don't see boards torn up, but imagine one of this board. This one particular step, that board is removed out. What will happen? And plus it is dark there. You will think that there is a step there, but there is no step because the board is torn up. And where will you be landing? You will be falling. So she says that she had to be careful in life, and there had been times when boards were torn up and she had to be careful, and there was no support for her. Boards torn up will also say that lack of support, nobody to support her, nobody to provide for her, all such instances. And then you see, and places with no carpet on the floor. Okay, this carpet. If you have visited any museum or palace, you would have seen that they would have carpeted even the steps. Say why? To protect from cold. It is an extra, adorn. It is a protection for your leg also. It keeps you warm. But she says that no, it is not like that. For me, life is bare like this. So it suggests some kind of loneliness, some kind of sorrow, some kind of difficulty in her path. All these difficulties she has endured in her life. She's telling her son, all right. And it is bare. See that particular line, that seventh line in your textbook. Bare. One word line. It says so many things about what she has had to endure in life. Okay, but then 8 to 13, what does she say? But all the time I've been climbing on and reaching landings and turning corners and sometimes going in the dark where there ain't been no light. So even if she had to endure all these kind of things, she's been moving on. She's been moving, walking ahead. See, a climbing. It is a you have a for that climbing, that is in a particular dialect, it is in their particular dialect, it suggests that it is going on, present continuous, it's going on. She's still climbing those stairs. And then what do we have moving forward? Okay, then it is a struggle. You see, but all the time she's saying, but all the time she has never stopped. She has never waited. All this time, she has been climbing and climbing and climbing. It is difficult to climb, but she has keep and reaching landings. What do you mean by landing? Do you see at this particular place here? Hmm? In the staircase, this is a kind of landing. There is a halt there. You can rest if you want sometimes, but then after that you won't go in the same direction. You will have to choose whether you have to go up, whether you have to take another path. If this landing leads to 2 or 3 different passages, then you will have to think here. So this landing has some significance there. Life has phases, isn't it? You need to make choices. Sometimes you halt a place before you change direction. That kind of landing. You climb, only when you climb you will reach landings, and only when you reach landings you will have option to choose. This is the meaning there. And turning corners. And see, and sometimes going in the dark where there ain't been no light. More uncertainty of life. Okay, more uncertainty, and she does not know what is ahead of her. Just imagine, this probably this photo has been photographed in evening. If it was night, you think there was light here, but there is no light here. What would she think? Where to turn? Where to turn? What lies ahead? Is there a board to step on? She would be thinking all these things, isn't it? So life is uncertain. More uncertainty, does not know what to do, where to go. But the important thing is she's been going on. She is unafraid. She's unafraid to venture all these things. She's taking life in the spirit of adventure. There is it. So these two lines might mean the same, but it is emphasizing the fact that she was willing to climb it. She was willing to venture out all these things. And sometimes going in the dark where there ain't been no light, she's stepping in the dark. This can suggest another thing, in the dark. When are you in dark? When you do not know where to go. That is another meaning, another symbol used there. Okay, you do not know where to go. Where then when you say, okay, Buddha had enlightenment, what is that? Light coming. He has some kind of guidance, some kind of inner guidance. When she says that, and there ain't been no light, it can also mean that there was no one to guide her, no one to say that you choose this path, this is better. You go that and that way, that is better. And nobody is there to tell her that this was fine, that is better. No. Nothing of that kind is happening there. She's just moving, she's venturing, she's using her intuition to move ahead. No guidance. It might be that she was the first. Yeah, that also is there. She might be the first one to venture that particular path, or she is one among the many people who are lonely in taking decisions. It happens in life. All these things. Okay, so it ends with the 13th line here. We look to 8th to 13th line. Time, all the time she has been moving, and then now it is so boy. Generally when youngsters listen, after some time the attention would go away. So she needs to call. So boy, it is again a term of endearment. All right, you hear we send a mone, that kind. Okay, mone, listen, mole, listen. That is the way. So boy, don't you turn back. Don't you sit down on the steps, cause you find it kind hard. Don't you fall now, for I still going, honey. I still climbing. Life for me ain't been no crystal step. This is you will have two words of endearment, one more than the other. So it is different. Boy, morning, and then if someone calls Apu or Ammu, it is little more, endearment. That kind of endearment. She's using honey here. So it is a call of endearment they use there. And okay, what is the sense of that? Those lines. She just says that she is calling the attention of the boy, and she is asking, "You need to think. If you sit like this, that won't do. You need to proceed." This boy has faced all these difficulties. He has definitely not faced so much of difficulties as his mother had to face. But the thing is, he has started facing it, and he feels scared. He feels difficult about what is going to happen, how it is. That is why he is depressed right now. That is why he is, should I go back? Should I go get down the stairs? Should I stop moving? All these kind. That is why she is saying, see, don't sit down on the steps. Don't sit down on the steps. What will you gain by sitting down on the steps? No gain. That is why she is saying it's kind of hard. If you sit there, you will remain there. But if you climb, you will go ahead. You will reach your goal. So that is why she is asking, get up, get up, get up. Go, walk, move higher. This is the notion there. And then you see, that is the example. I am the model for you. She's saying, and in between, she's also saying that don't get over ambitious also. That is also there. If you try to climb these stairs 3 or 4 steps together, you would not know whether there was a board or there is a broken board there. You have to be careful. You cannot run there. So don't you fall now. After getting this motivation, if he runs on the stairs, that is also difficult. So don't you fall. Don't you fall now. For I'm still going. Don't be depressed and sit on a place. Don't fall. Be careful, but move ahead because I am the model for you. The mother is a model, and I am still going. I am still climbing, honey. And life is not a crystal stair. So this is the way she is saying all these things. Okay. So what did we see? And now about the quality of the mother. What do you think the quality of the mother is? I admire this kind of mother. Actually, Langston Hughes didn't grow up with his mother. Most of the time, he was with his grandmother, and his grandmother was a strong and powerful lady. It is she who, kind of instilled all kind. It is she first person who gave him the thought that education is important. And maybe, when Langston Hughes is writing this poem, he might be having the numerous advices his mother or his grandmother, that role, that elderly person would have given to him, and that which would have pushed him ahead, that would have motivated him, and so he is giving this motivation kind of poetry here. So I would say that the mother is bold, she's courageous, she has a lot of determination, she has hope because everything is bleak there. See this stair and see this stair. Don't you think it is bleak here? No hopes here, but no, she is very hopeful. She is determined. She is determinant. And another thing that you can find here is the words that is used. It is purely informal. It is heart to heart talk by an elderly person, by a mother here with her son. And again, if you note, it is not very cultured kind of a language that she is using here. It is just to say that she is an ordinary mother. She is not a high class, sophisticated sort of a mother. She is an ordinary lady. She is an ordinary lady speaking to her ordinary son. Hmm? And so she is using all kind of, you don't use such words in outside your house. We also have a kind of style of language that we use here and there. So this is home language. But there is another importance of this dialect. I will come to it. But then, if you generally see that it has that specific kind of quality in this language, wherein these people, the mother is an ordinary mother. And when you say the mother is an ordinary mother, all these experiences that she has shared with her son is lesson or philosophy of her life that she has formed through her ordinary living, her daily life. She has not gone to any college or university to get this knowledge that she has shared with her son. No, 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 no. She is an ordinary and she speaks frankly. She speaks full of love. Her knowledge is from the roughness, from the coarseness of life that she has endured. And she always knows that the best means to combat everything in life is resilience, strength, and resilience. Okay, we saw all these things. I just wanted you to see the beautiful difference between life is a crystal stair and life being a wooden stair like this, which is an old wooden stair. Okay, all these things. Now, okay, this is a checklist of my analysis. We saw the meanings of this poem, we saw the inner meanings, we saw the comparison between the stair and the crystal stair and the wooden stair and the life journey. We saw what crystal stair would mean. I discussed about that. We saw about the mother and her qualities, and we saw a little about the language used in this poem. I actually made you pencil out, round mark all these special words that you have in this poetry, isn't it? So we'll speak about it in detail, but one thing that you have to notice, this is the language, it is a particular dialect used here, and it is a dialect used by people of ordinary people or people belonging to the lower social strata or the working class people and the working class women, to be accurate about all these things. To be accurate, working class women use this kind of language. All right. Now, what else do you have? Okay. Now, what we'll discuss now next is about poetic devices. You know what I am busy with here? I am actually seeing the time, whether I am running out of time because I have many more things to share with you. Though the slide contains only points, I have a lot of things. So, we saw metaphor, isn't it? What do you mean by a metaphor? Metaphor is a figure of speech in which an implied comparison is made between two different objects. What is life and what is a staircase, isn't it? They are two different things. Staircase is only an object, but then we use these two things it is an implied comparison. When we use such kind of a poetic device, it is called a metaphor. And we also have an extended metaphor. We also see the extended metaphor throughout the poem. So we got that, no? I think you are very clear with that. The whole life journey is compared with a stair. She says two kinds of stairs are there. A wooden stair is here and a crystal stair. Wooden stair is not mentioned correctly that wood, it is made of wood, nothing like that. But you say when she mentions tacks and splinters and boards torn up, it can happen only in a wooden stair. That's why. Okay. So this comparison is made. Then you might say, sister, it is not. It is if it is a comparison, it should be a simile and not a metaphor. Would have paid attention here. There is no word mentioning, as or like. Life is like a crystal stair or as a crystal stair. The words as or like is not mentioned anywhere here. I'm just going on telling that it is like this, it is like that. That is the difference between a simile, the may, the visible difference you can say between a simile and a metaphor. We don't use is or like in metaphor. We just go on speaking about it as if it is it, as if a staircase is life. We just speak about it. And extended metaphor is, when we come to the specificalities in this comparison. You just told that it is not a crystal stair, it is a wooden stair. You just told and left, it would be a metaphor. But then you're going deeper into it. You're extending. You're going to say that it has tags in it, it has splinters and boards were torn up. All these things are very, very related to a staircase. And then you again go into it. You say you need to climb high and you have landings here. This is extended metaphor. Now, the next poetic device that they use here is dramatic monologue. What do you mean by a monologue, first of all? Monologue, you have two things, dialogue, monologue. Dialogue requires two people, monologue has only one person. But it is a dramatic monologue. The other person is not speaking here. You say this is a mother to son, but the son is not speaking here, only the mother is speaking here. So it is a monologue, but it is intended to the son. And it is not just like blah 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 blah. It is not going on like this. It is dramatic. You have emotions here. You have sound variations here when you say it. Well, son, I'll tell you. Life for me ain't been no crystal stair. That is dramatic. This is called dramatic monologue. Next thing that next poetic device that you use here is enjambment. Would have heard all these things, but we are discussing it and we are discussing it thoroughly because, once again, if anyone doesn't remember these things, I just want to remind and I just want to say that these things are used. Enjambment. What do you mean by enjambment? when one line continues in the sense and essence of the first line continues with the second line without a full stop. The line is not ending there. The sentence is not ending there. The message is not ending there. For example, you have it here, Mm, don't you sit down on steps cause you find it's a kind harder. You have it in your 14, 15, 16, 15 and 16th line. You see, don't you sit down on steps. Don't you sit down on the steps cause you find it's a kind harder. So it is enjambment there. The first line, I mean the 13, 14, 15th line and the 16th line is connected. There is no full stop in between. It is going on continuous, and you can see that throughout, and reaching landings and turning corners. After corners and after landings, at least there is a comma there. But here there is no comma, there is no full stop, there is nothing. Don't you sit down on the steps cause you find it's kind harder. Okay, the essence, the sense is continuing. The sentence is continuing in two different lines. That is enjambment. This whole poem is using enjambment. And then free verse. You would have learned sonnets, isn't it? You would have learned limericks. What is the speciality of these kind of poems? Sonnet? It will have rhyming words. Limericks also has a structure there. Sonnets, 14 lines, and in the end you have couplets, and then the stanzas are divided in a particular way, and all these things. Limerick is like that. Many other poetry poems in different kinds you find it. There they are actually following a kind of rule, a kind of order there. Rhyme should be there, so many lines should be there. Let's look into these 20 lines. Even there is stress and unstress is not maintained here. Five stress words or two stressed and two unstressed coming. Nothing like that is there. There are 20 lines and the syllables, stress and unstress, all these things are as and what you like. There is no particular rhyme scheme. Such kind of verse is called free verse. You have a single word line here, and I think that is a single syllable also. There, single syllable line there. Okay, so such kind of things are mixed in. Such kind have a particular scheme here. So this is called free verse. Okay, that understood. All right. Next, what you see is a refrain or anaphora or repetition. That is another kind of poetic device used here. Refrain or anaphora, all these things is equivalent to repetition. Why do you do that? Actually, you see this. There is a repetition, Life for me ain't been no crystal stair. See, it is ending also like that. Life for me ain't been no crystal stair. So this kind of feature is called anaphora, and that is you're repeating that. You repeat that for 2 3 things. You are going to emphasize that life has not been like that. Huh? Life has not been like that. You want to emphasize that fact. You embed it into the memory of the boy or the listener or the reader. This is the reason you use this or repetition. This is another thing, poetic device or literary device that has been used in this particular poem. And then next, what you have symbolism. So many symbols in it. So many symbols. So many symbols in it. So the crystal stair is a symbol. What is it a symbol for? It stands for luxury, power, money, wealth, easiness, all these things. All these things that man would desire. All these things man considers ideal. That is crystal stair. Then you have other terms like symbols like tags, splinters, boards, tags. They are nails, isn't it? They are symbol for a small kind of oppression or suppression, small kinds of injuries that people give you in this journey. So they are all symbols. And then you have the dark and light symbol also. Okay, you will find it in your 12th and 13th line, and sometimes going in the dark where there ain't been no light, you know, and it is dark. Gloom inside the mind, gloom outside the mind. You don't know what. It is a symbol for uncertainty, uh, no one to support. All these kind of things can be said by this darkness there. Darkness. Oh, yeah, yeah, you got that. And then there is a symbol of light there. Mm, she is saying that there is no light. So, light always means guidance, light means clarity, light means certainty. So, whatever dark is, its opposite light is, and whatever light is, its opposite dark is. So, you get these two symbols there. So, this poem is, kind of full of symbols there and steps. And the stair itself is a symbol, isn't it? Stair always tells move ahead, move above, overcome, success. All these things, stair symbolizes all these things. Whether wooden or crystal stair, it symbolizes all these things. Achievement, adventure, higher, higher, all these things. Attain something, all these things. Okay, this is it. Then what does he use? He uses imagery. Imagery. What do you mean by imagery? Poem. A poem is not just black letters on white paper, you know. They build in beautiful pictures in your mind as you read it. Here, just because I showed you a crystal stair, your mind would be fixed on that particular crystal stair. But there are different kinds of crystal stairs. And here, because I showed you a wooden staircase, that picture is there. But then there are a lot many pictures. The poet is Hughes is drawing into your mind. He is illustrating various things. And that various things bring into your mind. When you say splinter, you would remember, sometime a thorn that has gone into your finger or that has remember that image is there. The splinter image will give you back the pain also when a splinter enters into your finger or a hand or something like that. And then he has pictured, a carpet on the floor, places with carpet, no carpet on the floor. So that is a picture there. And so there's no carpet on the floor, and barefoot or sensation there. It is no protection kinds of imuse. There is put it here a poetic device called allusion. It is not directly mentioned needed here. This particular situation is connected to another kind of situation. The crystal stair or Jacob's stair. That's a long story if you go. But then there is a man there, Jacob, there, but he is aspired after going through a lot of difficulties. But the vision that he has, the dream that he has in his story, it is in the Bible, the book of Genesis. So the vision that he has there is just angels going up and down a crystal stair. It is a staircase there and angels going up and down. So, this Langston Hughes is an Afro-American writer. So this Afro-American writers, Afro-American people were so much influenced by Christianity. So they have these kind of allusions in their daily talk, daily conversation. That is why this thing has come into the poetry also. So poetic devices done. I think you have understood. I hope you have understood. We'll go to the next thing. What do I? Oh yeah, we needed to speak about Langston Hughes, isn't it? So this is Langston Hughes. I wish the time is not running out. Okay, this is Langston Hughes. His full name is James Mercier Langston Hughes. He was a poet, columnist, dramatist, essayist, novelist, and he had been. He had been the. You see all our points here. Nothing, no explanation. I am giving the explanation. He was one of the main innovators of jazz poetry, and he was among the major poets in during the Harlem Renaissance. Harlem is a place in New York, and that place, all these Afro-American people settlement there. But then it is a happy coincidence that most of the talented people settled there during that time, and it took place between after the First World War, and it withered out before the Great Depression. But in those 9 or 10 years, in that one decade, they had brought tremendous change. What they were actually trying to do is they were trying to bring back black culture. It is a kind of conflicting time. It was a time of conflicting time. This 1920s. If you go to the history of these black people, how the black people reached America, in 1619, it was the first time when slaves were brought from Africa to America. They entered Jamestown in 1619. The date given is August 20. I'm not sure about that. But in that age, in 1619, that era, these slaves came from Africa. They were brought from Africa and they were put in North America, Virginia. Jamestown is in Virginia. So they were put there. They were sold as slaves. They were stolen, not considered as human. So that was the beginning of slavery in America. But these people were not slaves in Africa. You should remember they were tribesmen, they were kings, they were princes, they were princesses, they were cherished people. They were not just, eregere, that sort of a people. They were important people there. But they were actually captured, they were stolen, kidnapped, smuggled, and brought to this. So that is the beginning of slavery in America. And then in 1860s, what do we have? We have the presidentship of, Abraham Lincoln is there, and Abraham Lincoln tries to abolish the slavery there, abolish slavery. And North America and South America fought very bitterly. This is the Civil War there. South America wanted slavery. North America was somewhat trying to adjust, okay, no slavery, no problem, that kind of a thing. But even after that, it happened in 1860s. Even after that, there was a racial segregation in that land, and segregation was legalized actually, and there was some kind, Jim Crow laws all over the place. And Jim Crow law, it is a kind of stupid law, right? It was a brutal segregation between the whites and the blacks. The places they used, the travel facilities they used, the educational institutions they used, all these things were segregated, and so many rights, they were not considered human before, and even after the Civil War, they were not considered humans easily. So this was the condition. In 1920s, what happened because of the war? You should, if you go to the history, you should read it up. Okay, you should read it up. It is very interesting. It is a very healthy digression to read all these things. Uh, During the South was too much dependent on the slaves, and they enforced this all these kind of laws. During 1920s, what happened? Large amount of black people shifted to North America in search of industry, in search of work in industry. This happened after the war. But even in the north, there was segregation kind of a thing. But in the 1920s, what they were trying to do is black people actually tried to become rich or tried to become like white people. They were trying that because they were embarrassed about their blackness. Harlem Renaissance actually tried to stop these things. One aim of the Harlem Renaissance was to bring about the upliftment of black arts, African culture, all these things. Especially our Langston Hughes. He tried to actually, through his poems, he tried to lift up the black spirit. This poem is motivational, isn't it? You get a kind of punch, okay, I should move ahead. That kind of a feeling when you read this poem. All his poems are like that. All his poems are like that. They try to lift you up, that kind. And lift you up. You should read his I too, and you should read his The Negro Speaks of Rivers. All these poems are motivational poems. He is actually trying to lift the spirits of the depressed black people. And he, along with his fellows, usually try to, bring up or speak for the working class people, the lower strata, social strata people. He tries to bring. See, this poem also, it is about a woman, working class woman from the lower strata, who is trying to live life with full courage, full adventure, that kind. Okay. So, mother to son, I have used a small short form here, mother to son. It was published in Crisis. It is a journal in 1922. Actually, this Crisis is a tool, a journal, a magazine of NAACP, National Association for the Advancement of Colored People. Colored people, it is not only for black, all kind, Mexicans, Indians. So this is the thing. And his works are the Weary Blues, his first collection, and it was published in 1926. In this, Weary Blues, all the these poems, Negro speaks of the river, I too, and this particular poem, Mother to Son, all is inside this Weary Blues. All right. You should read this montage of a dreamed effort. Very beautiful poem. I too also very beautiful poem. When you read, no, you will feel like overcome all these things. That kind of a poem it is. Now, and his autobiography is in two sessions, two-part autobiography, the Big C, and I wonder as I won, as I wander. These are this is his autobiography. Okay. Now, when I told you about the Civil War, the Great Migration, and the civil rights movements in the 1960s, now just come back to the poem. Does it only mean mother to son here? You are literature students. That is why till there, before till I spoke about the author, it was +2 or 10th standard level. But now you should think as a literature student. Does this poem only have the meaning of a mother? Actually, it was published in Crisis. This is a journal by NAACP. Association actually worked for the application or the by this. So this is actually a tool. Yeah, and any mother or one mother, the old Afro American on the whole, the Afro American culture speaking to the new Afro Americans, new Negro society, they are asking. That generation, that culture is a mother figure there, and it is actually motivating the newer generation to not to be depressed. It's saying that life is like this. It is not a crystal stair, and there are a lot of difficulties, adversities, oppression, and hatred and segregation. Supposed so that holds a special meaning. You see, and yeah, it's I is dialect the social. It is actually the southern Afro Americans settled in the South America. Their particular dialect it is. Langston Hughes has very beautifully woven up all these words into. He has embedded all these words into this poem so that any reader, without much knowledge about Afro American culture or anything, they can come to know what is going on in this poetry. It is actually a call. It is actually, we shall overcome, that kind of a call, a war call to all these Afro Americans. Come up, we shall overcome this. By the way, go and search for this poem. Write down, okay? We shall overcome in one corner, because that is you search. That is also that is a song written for the civil rights movement. So this is again, these poems were published in a crisis just to motivate these people. So this has again another layer of meaning. So we were okay. So when we come to the themes of the poem, we told that it has a theme of journey of life. I told all that the mother is teaching, all the journey of life we have to endure, any kind of journey. You see, when you go to the meaning of this, when you go to the layers of meaning of this poem, you have different kinds of meanings. Like, if you take universe, it has a universal appeal. I told one meaning would be a mother to son. The second meaning would be the whole Afro-American older generation calling on to the newer generation. The whole Afro-American culture calling on to the newer generation not to be depressed, all kinds. And even without that, even if you remove the gender markings and the dialect, it is a casual talk between an elderly person. It can be a father to a daughter. I feel like my father speaking to me when I am down. That kind of a thing. So it has a journey to life kind of a theme to it. Life is difficult, but you can. When I was thinking today morning about this poem after reading the newspaper, it can also stand for this COVID time. It is like as if the society, the human history has gone through many things. There were chicken pox and measles and malaria and typhoid, all these things. But I have been going on. Life has been going on. So we shall overcome this COVID also. See how nicely it sets in, how nicely it comes in. So journey of life. That is one thing. Another theme is about identity and race. I told the mother is trying to say that what I endured, that you will have to endure. Because I was a Black American, Afro American. That's why I had to endure all these things. That identity is tried to retain there. I have endured, you will endure. And it is a problem which they have not created, but it is a problem which has been created just because they have born into that particular race. So that also is there. And then racism is another theme. You know, this mother is sad, this mother is poor, this mother has been struggling not because of her own laziness or lack of work or anything. These kind of things have been created because of the situation. She is enduring it, she is overcoming all these things. So racism is there. The theme of racism is very, very evident in this poetry. I covered all these things. I just want to say about some healthy distractions. These days, you will have, if you have data in your mm, mobiles or laptop after the class and all, go and just Wikipedia search. All right, Langston Hughes. Just go and search. You will have so many kind of distractions. I mean, you read it. You are doing your BA in English. You will not stop there, isn't it? You will do your MA, you will do your MPhil, you will do your PhD. All these things are necessary. Now, for this university exam, you will not need all these things. But in future, so just connect all these things and learn. Harlem Renaissance, jazz, black art movement. Then I told in between I thought we shall overcome. Who wrote that poem and why, who wrote that song and why was it? Then civil rights movements. And then you should take time and read, these poems. These are by Langston Hughes, Negro Speaks of the River, I Too, Montage of a Dream Deferred, all these things. And then recently, oh yeah, one more thing. I forgot to tell you that this Mother to Son, that poem, Langston Hughes had actually thought of naming it as Crystal Stair, but then he removed it. Or it retains it as a subtitle, like, Mother to Son, Crystal Stair. Some places they have told that. Now, No Crystal Stair is a novel by, find out, more by Sarfield, a Canadian writer in 1997. Just go and, Wikipedia. If you have time, you download the book and read. It is also again about these things. And then you have some movies. I've just put some movies there. 12 years of slave, 12 years a slave, On with the Wind, Lincoln, Uncle John's Cabin. You can find it in the YouTube. Easy to watch online. Watch such movies. You will get some more knowledge about. I don't say that this is all about slavery. No, you will get some atmosphere of what I spoke in this class. And then just to connect with this poem was published in 1922 in Crisis. Remember, 1922, two other beautiful classic works was published. One was Wasteland by T.S. Eliot in Criterion, and the other was Ulysses by James Joyce. And Ulysses is known for the stream of consciousness technique. I just put that in there. It is not required for this poem, but when you remember 1922, you should connect all these three things. So at least that much you will remember without having to learn. All right. So much. Now it is question answer session, but before question answer session, some people will be hungry by now and they will put it off and go. Before that, I just want to thank the government and the Department of General and Higher Education, especially the SAP for coordinating online classes so that learning doesn't stop. And I would like to especially thank all the people who are working behind it and the people who contacted me and helped me to put out this class very well. Technical support and all the program managers of ASAP for coordinating, and they have been working a lot for these things. I thank you all for including and inviting me to this. I look forward for for future collaborations also. And I thank all the students watching this session. Thank you for listening to me. Now it is question answer session. You can ask. Shoot.
We have got one question, and the question is from Hridya Franklin. Is there a chance to connect this poem to the present situation of our world? That's a question by her.
What do you think about what? You're speaking about COVID-19? Or you're speaking
I
about
guess,
political issues?
I guess she has asked the question on that behalf due to this
Yeah, I
pandemic.
just told you. I told you that this poem has multiple levels of meanings, isn't it? So when you have multiple levels of meanings, I just told that it can be about any situation in the world, any situation in one's life. Like for me, now it is lockdown situation, and I have a conviction that God designs everything for our benefit, for the benefit of mankind. So this poem could be about, that particular situation also, wherein the medical science or the human society or the people, the generation who have lived before, telling us that we have from centuries been going through many things. We have many kind of pandemics in the world, but we have overcome all those things. But then now we can overcome this also. We can overcome COVID-19 also. That can be one thing. If you're speaking about any situation in life, this poem will suit there. Any political situation, social situation, economical situation, anything you can match into it and it can go well there. That is what I think.
Okay, sister, thank you. One more question.
Yeah,
One more
yeah.
question from Athira MP. And the question is this poem about the endurance of human spirit?
Definitely it is about the endurance of the human spirit. I told we spoke about different layers of meaning, isn't it? First layer of meaning, it can be just a mother to a son, specifically Langston Hughes' mother or grandmother speaking to Langston Hughes. That was first layer. Second layer, we took about the Afro-American oppression, suppression, and the Afro-American culture speaking to the new Negro generation. That also can be. But more than that, it has a universal kind of a theme to it. That is why in the themes I put journey of life. So it speaks about the spirit. It speaks about the soul's capacity to endure anything. Yeah, and here I would like to say, when you ask this question, I would like to say the son or the new generation or whatever, the listener can perhaps take that when the mother was silent all along walking to the stair, the son might have misunderstood that mother's life was very easy. Whatever is happening, mother is very easy about it. That's why she is going. But this poem or this particular situation is wherein mother clarifies that no, Baba, my life was not a crystal stair. It had all these kind of difficulties, but I endured. And I take it a point that I don't call attention to my suffering. That is all. That is why I am silent, but I am strong. And I know that I have to combat it. That's why I have to have strength. So she is a kind of sufferer and silent kind of a person. She asks us also to be like that. Suffer in silent, but endure all these things and go ahead. So definitely it means endurance of the spirit, endurance of the mind, endurance of the human spirit. Yes, definitely. That is it. And
Okay.
endurance can gain you a lot of things. Adira, I hope you are satisfied with that answer.
One more question from Nita. This poem also depicts the struggles of Black race to overcome the obstacles.
Yeah.
Sister, can you please give a small idea regarding this perspective? That's a
Yes,
question.
yes. I thought the time is over. That's why I didn't elaborate that. Actually, you would have seen that I have mentioned racism here in the themes. Thank you for asking this question. I get extra time to explain. Now you see, this particular poem where our Langston Hughes is using all these particular language here, instead of you say this particular word, I still going, huh? This I still going, you have it here and here. I am and I have. I apostrophe se for I have and I am. That is particularly connected to the southern black dialect. Hmm? And again, this climbing you find here now. climbing is there here somewhere. I got a climbing. Uh, Adding this prefix to climbing. That also is specifically to the southern black dialect. And what is the speciality of the southern black dialect is that even do all through the ages of slavery and even after the civil war and even during the civil rights movement, the problem in the south was more than the problem in the north. The black people suffered more segregation in the south than in the comparatively from the north. North it was little less. I don't say that it was not there in the north. North it was there. So when this poem is quoted or weaved or put together using such words, it is clear that it is racial oppression suffered by a southern working class black woman, and all the problems that is put in symbols in this poetry is caused because of the legalized segregation in those places. All right. I told about the Jim Crow laws, and these laws prohibited the people from moving, free passage, all such things were there, and they had to, pass impossible kind of intelligence test and economic criteria to gain ownership of land. All these things where the southern legislatures they passed these laws. All these kinds of oppression were specifically in the south. That is why when Hughes uses these particular words, we know that it is particularly referring to the racial oppression suffered by the black people, especially in the south. Clear?
Yes, sister. Just two more questions we have.
Yeah.
The one question from Nita Mustafa. What
Okay.
would be the tax and splinters for Afro-American people? I think the poem there was a line regarding tax and splinters the mother had to endure. So she is asking on that behalf, what would be the tax splinters for Afro-American people?
All right. Tax and splinters. All right. The Afro-American living situation, I told they were not allowed to go anywhere. You search of any other celebrities of that time. For example, Anderson. She was I think she is a vocalist or something like that. She wanted to learn piano. She wanted to learn music, but she endured a I read her biography. It's like that, all these people, even Langston Hughes, he suffered a lot while he was living. James Baldwin is there. All these people suffered a lot because of many things. Now, when you're saying about tax and splinter, and you would remember that Stockborough boys case, isn't it? They were lynched during that time. All these things were happening. People were lynched. People were accused. You have the story. You have a play by Dutchman. You have a play called Dutchman by Amiri Baraka. There, anything and everything the whites claim that is true, and what the blacks claim this cannot be done. They were not even allowed to sit or stand in public places. They were not allowed any kind of freedom. These blacks, even after the civil war, even after it was, I told you, it was legalized at that time. You segregate these people. They have equal laws but segregated laws. This is the kind of a norm that they have. Segregated equal laws. What is the kind of equality? It will be like, all men are equal, but some are more equal. That kind of a law it is. So this tax and splinters are the difficulties faced in this particular context. If you take this as a motivation given by Afro-American older generation to the Afro-American younger generation, this tax and splinters would be the difficulties faced due to racial discrimination by women also. Men and women suffered, but usually, no, more than men, women suffer. That is why these tax and splinters are those kinds of segregation. You go to, yeah, and people, these Afro-American men usually resorted to, you don't get place to live. I told you the large amount of people migrated from south to north. what do they expect? They expect job, economical benefit, all these things in the north because they have industries there. But when they come to north, they find that they do not have place to sleep. It is cold in the north. Okay, they do not have place to sleep. They do not have food to eat. They are mistreated by many people. Anything others say would be, they will be passed, they will be hanged, they will be beaten, or anything like that can happen anytime. So they were in a very bad condition. So most of the time what we see is either because of the situation or because people make them, men turn into thieves, petty robbery, all these things, and women sell their bodies. This is another meaning of, don't you sit down on the steps. People who sit down on the steps or stuck on the stairs are people who take the wrong means. This is also a kind of implied meaning there. Don't sit down on the steps. So when they say tags and splinters, this mother has been moving on without taking wrong path. She's conscious that if she lets herself, she will get some money to feed her children or be well. But then she is avoiding all that, those kind of tags and splinters also, to live a good life. That is what she is showing as an example to her son. Now, we cannot blame them for such situation, but this is life, and life is not a crystal stair. Okay, I hope this is enough.